Today, we're diving deep into history, all the way back to the Iron Age, to uncover a story that completely changes what we thought we knew about ancient animals and trade. It's a tale that involves ancient DNA, powerful empires, and one very special animal, a mule. So, picture this: northeastern Spain, the Penedès region, famous for its wine today. Archaeologists are working at an Iron Age site called Hort den Grimau. They're excavating burial pits dating back to between 475 and 425 BA. In one of these pits, they find the remains of a single equid, a horse-like animal. For years, everyone just assumed it was a horse or maybe a donkey. It was a common assumption, and the bones didn't scream anything out of the ordinary at first glance. But a team of curious researchers decided to take a closer look. Something about this animal felt different. It was unusually large for a donkey of that era, yet its proportions didn't quite match a typical horse. This is where modern science comes in to solve an ancient mystery. The team, led by experts in zoology and ancient DNA, decided to run some tests. They analyzed the animal's morphology, the shape and size of its bones, and then they went for the gold standard, ancient DNA analysis. The results were astonishing. This wasn't a horse and it wasn't a donkey. It was a mule, the offspring of a female horse and a male donkey, and not just any mule. This particular animal is now considered the earliest evidence of a mule in the entire Western Mediterranean and continental Europe. This discovery pushes back the timeline for equid hybridization in this part of the world by several centuries. We're talking about a significant leap in our understanding. Before this, the earliest confirmed mules in Europe were from the Romang period. Finding one in an Iron Age Iberian context, well before Roman conquest, is a massive deal. It tells us that the local Iberian people, specifically a group known as the Chesitani, were already breeding or acquiring these sophisticated hybrid animals long before we thought. So why is a mule so important? Well, mules are biological marvels. They combine the best traits of both parents. From their donkey father, they inherit incredible strength, endurance, and a steady, sure-footed nature. From their horse mother, they get size, speed, and a bit more power. This combination makes them superior pack animals and work animals, especially in rugged, mountainous terrain like the Iberian Peninsula. They can carry heavier loads for longer distances and require less food and water than a horse of similar size. They were, in essence, the ultimate all-terrain vehicles of the ancient world. But there's a catch. Mules are almost always sterile. You can't just breed two mules to get more mules. You have to continuously breed a female horse with a male donkey. This means that maintaining a population of mules requires a deliberate and sophisticated breeding program. You need to keep and manage both parent species. It's not something that happens by accident. It's a conscious technological choice. The fact that the Chesitani people had this mule tells us they were deeply connected to advanced animal husbandry practices. This wasn't some isolated, primitive community. They were part of a much larger, interconnected world. This is where the story gets even more interesting. Where did this practice of mule breeding come from? The evidence points east, towards the powerful civilizations of the Near East and North Africa. The Phoenicians, masters of the sea and trade, established colonies all along the Mediterranean coast, including in Iberia. They brought with them goods, technologies, and new ideas. It's highly likely they introduced the concept of mule breeding to the local Iberian populations. Even more influential were the Carthaginians. Emerging from the Phoenician colony of Carthage in modern-day Tunisia, the Carthaginian Empire became a dominant force in the Western Mediterranean. We know from historical texts and archaeological evidence that the Carthaginian army relied heavily on mules. They were essential for their logistics, for moving supplies, weapons, and even siege engines over long distances and difficult landscapes. Think about Hannibal Barca, the famous Carthaginian general who crossed the Alps with his army and elephants to attack Rome. How do you think he supplied that massive army? A huge part of the answer is mules. They were the backbone of his supply chain. So, the presence of this mule at Hort den Grimau strongly suggests a connection to this Carthaginian sphere of influence. The Iberians were not just passive recipients of goods. They were actively participating in this network. They were either trading for these valuable animals or, perhaps more impressively, they had learned the complex breeding techniques themselves. This mule wasn't just an animal. It was a piece of high-status, cutting-edge technology. It was a symbol of power, wealth, and connection. Let's talk about the burial itself. This mule wasn't just discarded. It was intentionally placed in a burial pit. While it wasn't buried with the elaborate grave goods you might see with a human chieftain, the careful placement suggests the animal held significant value. It wasn't just a tool. It was an important part of the community, worthy of a special, ritualistic deposit after its death. In many ancient cultures, the sacrifice or burial of a valuable animal was a powerful statement, an offering to the gods or a way to display the owner's status even in death. This single discovery has opened up a whole new chapter on the Iron Age. It shows us a world that was far more connected than we often imagine. Ideas and technologies were flowing across the Mediterranean. A farmer or a warrior in what is now Spain could be using an animal bred with knowledge that originated thousands of miles away in Mesopotamia, passed through the Near East and was popularized by North African empires. The research team did an incredible job combining old-school archaeology with cutting-edge genetic analysis. They looked at the DNA, they measured the bones, and they cross-referenced it all with historical context. It's this interdisciplinary approach that allows us to tell such a rich and detailed story from just a few ancient bones. This mule from Hort-d'en-Grimau is more than just the oldest of its kind in the region. It's a key that unlocks a new understanding of the Iron Age economy, of military logistics, and of the vast trade networks that shaped the ancient world. It reminds us that history is constantly being rewritten, not by changing the past, but by improving how we look at it. One bone, one fragment of DNA, can completely reframe our understanding and bring a forgotten world vividly back to life. It makes you wonder what other secrets are still buried beneath our feet, just waiting for the right tools and the right questions to be asked. What do you think about this discovery? It's pretty incredible to think about how advanced these ancient societies were. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next historical adventure. See you in the next video.